Alright guys, welcome back. Let's talk Redcat racing. For starters, I should note that this is actually my very first Redcat. Coming from where I come from in the hobby world, when Redcat debuted, I really didn't feel like they were that much of a hobby grade company. No offense, Redcat. Some of their stuff didn't look super, especially with like the crawlers and stuff, didn't look very scale in my opinion, and since that's kind of really my jam, I never really got into them. They had came out then, I guess a couple years back now, with the Scout looking truck, and they, that body looked a lot better, and their trend going forward now, especially with their lowrider stuff and everything, those bodies have been looking fantastic, and the whole lowrider scene, and the cars hopping and everything else, pretty cool stuff if you're into that scene. But when I saw that they were coming out with this thing, with the COE here, I had to have one, and I had to have it in the red. The red is actually, this particular red is like one of my all-time favorite colors. I had a 97 Tacoma this color, and that metallic cherry red color has always just been a favorite of mine. So when I saw they were coming out with this, I immediately jumped on the bandwagon of pre-ordering one, and I found a local guy here on the island that's a Redcat dealer, and I was able to get one fairly quickly. Obviously now it's been out for a couple weeks. The other influencers and stuff like that have had it for quite some time, and they've kind of gone over probably a lot of it and stuff at this point. So I'm not going to deep dive into everything about the truck. You've probably already been there, done that, seen it, heard it all. Just kind of want to talk about what I'm doing with mine. So for starters, I bought it, and I bought it with the light kit right away. I think that really jazzes it up and makes it look pretty awesome. I like that it has almost like a built-in controller, so when it's stationary, the rear lights are very bright to simulate as if the brakes were on, and then if you squeeze the throttle ever so lightly, it turns them to a dimmer lighting on them. The other nice thing is too is that if you go into reverse, you get reverse lights out of it, so that's pretty cool. Probably the coolest thing about it though is the fact that it has the ability to add the servo kit for having airbags, so you could lay frame or whatever people call that. I don't really know. I'm not huge into that scene. So that was definitely a must for me. I thought that was a really cool feature. They did a great job, in my opinion, on the truck overall. It's very, very realistic looking. It's very detailed. It's very scaled, especially for like a Lexan body and stuff. I like how they hide the battery and stuff and everything and all that. So it's got the scale winch and everything. It comes with little straps and stuff for securing the a vehicle onto the deck. It comes with like stoppers for like chocking the wheels and all that stuff. So it came with a bunch of cool stuff. Comes with a little scale hitch as well. And overall, they did a really great job with this truck, and I was super pumped to get one. The one thing I will say is if you're looking at it, it's freaking huge. Comparison to something, let's say the Blackfoot, you could see how much bigger this thing is. So it is a very large RC. I don't even know what scale I would consider it. I mean, a COE is a pretty big truck, but I don't quite think it as big. But they were trying to appeal to a market where you could stick, a full-size, crawler or one of their lowrider cars and stuff on the back deck lid. And you can kind of see here, this is an old-school Parma, which they always say was like 1/10, but we're probably really close to more 1/12 scale. And you can see like how this truck looks a little bit like dwarfed on there. But overall, super cool truck. Really pumped to have been able to add this one to the collection. And like I said, probably my favorite part is this. On the frame, baby. Going up. Super rad. So one of the other things I want to tell you guys about too is I'm ditching Spectrum, and I have gone over to FlySky. I really love this new radio. It has, I think, up to 8 channels, and with all these new age cars coming with multiple shifted transmissions and doing things like tilt beds, dual action, so tilt back, tilt to the side. lighting kits that could be triggered off the radio. I needed something that had more than, like 4 or 5 channels. When I finally get back to working on the Capo GTR, that's going to need a ton of channels just in itself. And this is actually the radio that Capo recommends that you use for their GTR kit if you're going to do all the scale add-ons and stuff. I was also super tired of crappy-ass battery life with the Spectrum. I had a DX5R, and the thing just chewed through batteries. I had a DX5 Racing, not a bad radio, but ergonomic-wise, it just didn't feel great in the hand. I had to have a thumb wheel extension on to reach for the steering, whereas with this radio, this whole thing here twists, and you could get to the thumb wheel so you could film and shoot one-handed and drive one-handed and stuff like that. So that was definitely something I've just recently done, and I have to buy a ton of receivers. I get asked all the time how much of the collection actually runs, and over the years, with electronics becoming more affordable, I've been able to work on getting a lot of stuff, running. So especially with things like Hobbywing 1080s and brushed motors being so cheap nowadays, you can get the 35 turns super cheap, and those high torque Amazon servos, which I run good servos. I'll run Reef servos, and I'll run Holmes Racing servos and my more high-end stuff or whatever, but for my everyday run-of-the-mill crawlers, that stuff that I'm only using a couple times a year, I use the cheap stuff because it would just be too costly to be spending $100+ on a good servo for every single truck. But the nice thing is with going to this radio too is you could really, there's so much adjustability in this, and one of the biggest complaints that I've seen with this truck out of the box is that if you do the airbag suspension, is that it moves very, very fastly and it's not very realistic looking. So with a high-end radio, you're able to slow the servo speed action down and make it look more realistic. So that's a huge benefit. The other thing that I have on order for this is Hey OK Performance. They came out with a plug-and-play kit if you're using the standard Redcat radio for the slow servo action, but they also came out with a airbag like compressor sound kit thing. I saw that on Matt Scale Builders Guild's channel earlier last week. Thought that was super rad, so I ordered one of those, and I'm pumped to get that installed in this as well. But yeah, let me bring you up close. Let's give you a quick peek at this thing, and I'll show you guys this Parma car here, or truck. This came from Brian at Space Coast Customs. Alright, so up close, you can see this thing with the light kit installed, and the paint they chose for this is really gorgeous. The wheels look really good, the chrome plastic, they got hubcaps they give you with them, and then also for the bed, I probably should have mentioned earlier, I found a guy, I'll drop his info in the section below, I'm drawing a blank on his company name, but he's going to be making 3D printed like toolbox doors. They give you stickers to use with the kit. I didn't necessarily particularly care for those, so I just kind of left it as it was. But I'm definitely going to be putting those in. I think that's going to be a really cool feature to add to it. They're actually like, they open and stuff, so that's going to be pretty rad. Like I said, not too much. I don't want to bore you guys with the details of the COE because I think we've all seen plenty of that. So, but yeah, so here's the One Bad Apple. And this thing is a old school vintage Parma car. I don't know if it was originally a Parma Hemi or maybe a Parma Corvette, or one of the Parma cars at some point. If I had to guess, it's one of the earlier variant ones because it has the wheels that have the holes in it rather than the other type of wheels that they had. And Brian is just such an amazing airbrush artist. I mean, you could see the color in this thing. Like, look at the roof, how the edge lines are darker than the main part. I mean, when the light hits this thing, you really see all of that. The lettering's awesome, really cool name, One Bad Apple. And then even the wood grain in the back of the bed here, really awesome job. Brian's one of my favorite painters. I honestly wish I had more of his stuff. My buddy Cole tends to scoop that up before I can get to it. But I have a couple pieces for Brian, and they really do look, he really does fantastic work. He's painted stuff for me before. So yeah, so this is the Redcat. If you guys have any questions on it, feel free to drop it in the comments below. And yeah, remember, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please make sure you do. Thumbs up the video, hit the bell if you want notifications, and I'll see you guys next time.